Welcome to a special joint service with the Thoreau Woods Unitarian Universalist Church and the Unitarian Universalist Church of the Brazos Valley. We're the two closest UU churches in this part of the world. My name is Reverend Christian. I'm co-leading with Reverend Vicki today. I'm the interim pastor of Brazos UU. I was also an active member here a decade ago and continue my membership. I'm a graduate of Andover Newton Seminary. Reverend Vicki has been serving Thoreau Woods for the past year as their pastor. Previously, she lived in Massachusetts, and she moved here shortly after graduating from One Spirit Interfaith Seminary. Welcome visitors, free thinkers, and free spirits. We are both welcoming congregations, which means we celebrate and welcome people of any sexual orientation, race, age, gender identity, ability, and belief. So whoever you are, wherever you have come from, wherever you are on life's journey, you are welcome and encouraged to be here. Honoring the value of spiritual freedom and diversity, we don't have a statement of doctrine. And as a covenanted community, we agree to a set of principles that we follow as we search for truth and how it applies to ethical living. Unitarian Universalism is a faith of covenant, not creed. This means that Unitarian Universalists seek and use wisdom from many sources. Our service today is about how we are stronger together. Both all of us coming together as individuals and our two UU congregations coming together for this worship service. And indeed, all our congregations working together through the Unitarian Universalist Association to do good in our world. Welcome.
Our call to worship today is from the Reverend Cynthia Landrum. Spirit of life and love, we gather together in different ways this morning, from computer screens, from telephones, and from car radios. We gather, reaching out across the wires, waving from a safe distance, to come together in religious community. From living room to front porch to car seat, we gather as we are able, ready to be of service to each other and to the world, ready to build the community of hope and love. As we face this bright morning, we are apart, but we are together, offering our love, our commitment, our hope, and our prayers in service to one another and this world. It is a new way, but an old way, that we come together in worship today. Come, let us worship.
Thank you, Reverend Vicki. As I light our chalice today, I invite you to light your own chalice, if you wish. Please say our chalice lighting words with me. We light the chalice, the symbol of our Unitarian Universalist faith, as a beacon of hope for all who seek justice, dignity, and compassion, and in celebration of the life of truth and meaning we share together. Now, please join me in saying our affirmation. Love is the spirit of this church, and service is its gift. This is our great covenant, to dwell together in peace, to seek the truth in love, and to help one another.
Come, come, whoever you are. Come, come, whoever you are. Causes no care, whoever you spare. 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 Causes no caravan of despair. Causes no caravan of despair. Come yet again, come. We come to this portion of our service we call the time for all ages. It truly is a time for all of us to think, but especially for our younger folks. So welcome to this time. Today we're talking about how we are stronger together, and I wanted to do a little story illustration for you. It's about sticks. You see, once there was one stick, and it wasn't that strong. I'm using a pencil today. It turns out that if I try really hard, not too hard, I can break it. That's sad because now I have a broken pencil, but it happens once in a while. We break pencils. We break things in our lives. We might even feel like we're broken. And one of the ways that we can do something about this is to be together. Because together we're so much stronger. Together we can support one another. Together we can provide strength when people are not feeling that strong and support others when we are feeling strong. And so together, when we're together, we're much stronger. This bundle, I can't do anything. I can't break it. I can barely bend it. It's so strong to each of these together. And so today's story is about how we are stronger when we join together, when we support one another, when we are together.
If we were having worship service in person, this is the time when we would pass the basket. Both of our congregations share the proceeds of the offering plate donation every week to support important nonprofit organizations with which we work. We at UUCBV are proud to support the Brazos Valley Food Bank this month. For Thoreau Woods, the charity of the month is CASA, the court-appointed special advocates of Walker, San Jacinto, and Trinity counties. If you wish to make an offering to either or both of our churches, you can mail your check to the church of your choice. Or for your convenience, those wanting to donate to UUCBV can donate online. On our homepage at brazos-uu.org, you can find a Donate Here tab at the top and our mailing address at the bottom. May each of us look into our hearts. How much love, how much generosity, how much faith, how much gratitude, how much hope is there? We give thanks for these gifts we each have given, for those we receive, and for each other.
I invite you now to join together in silence for a time in the peace that silence brings. As we enter into silence, we remember the many connections that sustain and uplift us through this religious community. We remember those who preceded us, whose contributions built a free faith, who built this home for its practice. We remember those around us whose continuing care and thought and deed is an ongoing blessing in our lives, keeping the dream of religion free and alive in our time. We remember those who will follow us, the children presently in our care, and those not yet to come to light, who will inherit the work of our hands and our hearts. In the silence now, we sit surrounded by these many connections, visible and invisible, that remind us every day that we are not alone. May peace be with you.
Each week we take a time to share our joys and concerns and sorrows so that they might be held together by all of us. We know that there are many of these among us, so please feel free to express any joy or sorrow you wish to share with everyone in the chat box at this time. You can simply write it there. We also hold in our hearts anything that goes unspoken or written. First, we're so grateful this week for the chance to join in worship with our neighboring congregation to show that truly we are stronger together. As the conclusion to this election continues to drag out, we give thanks for all those who have voted, for all the workers who have operated polling sites, who have counted votes, who have made this election possible. We ask for all the best for those elected to do the work of this democracy, that they may make wise decisions and that they will respond to those they represent. We lift up once again all those suffering with the effects of the coronavirus. For parents and grandparents and family members, for those who have concerns about their children's safety in school or at home, to essential workers who present themselves daily. As the numbers begin to rise once again, help all of us to stay safe. We remember this week that Black lives really do matter, and we strive for justice, equity, and anti-racism. These are just a few of the joys and concerns that are among our hearts today. I know that there are many individual ones too, so please, if you haven't already, there's still time to express your joy or sorrow, anything you wish to share with everyone in the chat box. And we'll have plenty of time after service to share in coffee hour as well. It's such a joy to see each of you here today.
Our reading for today, The Grout, written by Marcus Hartleaf, is a reflection from his time as an intern. The Unitarian Universalist congregation where I served as an intern made a mosaic tree of life the summer before I arrived. Congregants of all ages came together to craft the tree's leaves using bits and pieces of broken ceramics, jewelry, glass, and stone. There are many precious personal items in the tree, including fragments of the Berlin Wall, a father's watch face, pieces of great-grandmother's china, and a key to the front door of a loved home. Like the members of the community that brought them together, each part is imbued with memories and meaning. Each fragment holds a piece of truth. Unitarian Universalists are mosaic makers. We are a people who bring together the broken pieces of our histories and the shining pieces of our seeking, and piece by piece, create a mosaic religion. Our tree of life is found in the stories of our living tradition. The bead from a transformational moment of worship at a youth conference. The bit of paper stamped with the blazing emblem of the Unitarian Service Committee that saved lives during World War II. The button or patch on a backpack that proudly proclaims the first justice issue that lit our souls on fire. But our mosaic making tells another story too, one that is often more difficult to see, one that is essential to the purpose of religious community, one that lies not in the beautiful and broken bits and pieces, but in the grout. Grout, the chalky, gritty stuff that is squeezed between the cracks of tiles. In a mosaic, the grout holds the image together, unifying disparate pieces into a whole. The grout of a community takes years to lay and settle. Grout happens in board meetings and committee meetings and endless emails and slow-moving institutions. It is in weekly potlucks shared by neighbors, a ride to church, and coffee in the social hall after worship. While the folks who show up for church only on Christmas and Easter will hopefully enjoy the beauty of the mosaic they find, they may never know the power of the grout that holds us through all the seasons of life. We help to make grout when we learn each other's names and when we reach out across generational divides. We help to make the grout when we show up on Sunday mornings without having checked first to see if we're interested in the sermon topic. When a newborn arrives to be blessed by the community, it is the grout that enables us to welcome them. And it is in the grout that we rest when we gather to grieve and to memorialize a beloved one who has died.
Circle round for freedom, circle round for peace, for all of us imprisoned, circle for release, circle for the planet, circle for its soul, for the children of our children. Keep the circle whole. Circle round for freedom. Circle round keep the circle whole.
Our message today is from an old but beloved story of a monastery that had fallen on hard times. As the years had passed, there were fewer and fewer novices, and some of the younger monks began leaving in dissatisfaction. Few people from the surrounding villages would even visit anymore. Eventually, only a handful of elderly monks remained, and they argued amongst themselves, each blaming the monastery's decline on the faults and failings of the others. Their leader, the abbot, didn't know what to do. Now, an old friend of the abbot's was a rabbi who had recently retired to live in a small cottage near the monastery. After years of only seeing each other when the abbot had cause to travel into town, they were able to renew their friendship with more regular visits. The rabbi and the abbot would sit together, drinking tea and remembering the good old days back when they were both students. On one of his visits to see the rabbi, the abbot brought up the problems at the monastery. This was not the first time the rabbi had heard about the situation that so troubled his friend. But this time, the abbot specifically asked for advice, particularly something that he could share with the other monks that might encourage them and perhaps even stop them from fighting with each other. Hearing the abbot's question, the rabbi was quiet for some time, sipping his tea as he thought. As the silence stretched on, the abbot couldn't contain himself. "Don't you have some advice that might save my monastery?" he begged his friend. "Your monks will not listen to my advice," the rabbi replied, somewhat sadly. "But perhaps they would benefit from an observation." "Yes," said the abbot hopefully. "Have you noticed something about the monastery that we ourselves have not?" "I think so," answered the rabbi. "And it is this: the Messiah is among you." The abbot was initially lost for words. It seemed an outrageous claim, but he trusted his friend, so when he regained his composure, he asked as respectfully as he could, "The Messiah is among us? But who is it?" "As to that," the rabbi replied, "I cannot say, but I know that it is true beyond all doubt. The Messiah is among you. Share this with your monks, and in time, the truth will be revealed." Well, the abbot couldn't wait to get back to the monastery. Taking one last gulp of tea, he thanked his friend profusely, jumped up out of his chair, grabbed his coat, and without even taking time to put it on, ran out of the cottage and across the meadow. Arriving breathlessly back at the monastery, he managed to convey to the first monk he saw that he wanted everyone to meet in the chapel. By the time they arrived, the abbot had recovered enough to address them. "My brothers," the abbot said, "I have incredible news. I have just been told, without any room for doubt or question, the following: the Messiah is among you." The monks immediately started talking. "One of us? Here? But who? How can that be?" Raising his hands to quiet them, the abbot explained what the rabbi had told him, and then instructed them to be about their work while they reflected on the amazing news. As the monks did their chores, each wondered to himself, "It couldn't be Brother Samuel, could it? He always forgets when it's his turn to do the washing up after meals." But then He brings such lovely flowers to decorate the tables. Surely it's not Brother Albert. He's always muttering to himself, and when he's not muttering, it's because he's being rude. But then he's always the first there to look after us if we get sick. What about Brother Leo? He's always dirty, and he smells bad too. But then that's because he works so hard in the field growing the most delicious vegetables. And I can't believe it's Brother Thomas. He always spills ink all over the desk when we write out our scriptures. But then his drawings and decorations of the scripts are so vivid and beautiful. The monks continued to try to figure out who amongst them might be the Messiah, but none of them came to any conclusions. Still, they realized that they could sometimes see the Messiah in one another's faces. They could sometimes hear the Messiah in one another's voices. And they began to treat each other more kindly and more fairly, just in case. And as time passed, the villagers noticed that something was different about the monastery, and they began visiting more. And more of the young men who came to inquire about training as novices decided to stay. And the elderly monks and their abbot found themselves at peace, content to enjoy their golden years doing what they loved, while all about them, the monastery thrived. The losses of this past year have rocked each and every one of us. Our collective monastery, our church, our community, our local and larger communities have fallen on unprecedented hard times. We've been brought to our knees, and we are grieving. We're grieving the loss of friends, the loss of loved ones, the loss of connection to others, the loss of health, and the loss of the way things were before this pandemic. We are still standing, though, because even in our darkest moments, through the strength bestowed on us by the God of our understanding, we are each holding on to hope. When one of us stumbles, another reaches out a hand to lift us up. When we can't see in the darkness, another lights a candle. In hoping together, we stand together. Standing together, we are stronger, resilient, and determined, unstoppable. We're really not so different than the monks in the failing monastery. When we see the Messiah in each other, we stand strong together, and in doing so, we thrive. May it be so.
One of the great learnings for me in coming into Unitarian Universalism was how connected we are. I don't just mean us here in this worship, but all Unitarian Universalists. It's not a connection like you have in some other religions. We don't have a pope in Rome or even a bishop up in Dallas or something. But we are congregational and we are connectional. Each of our congregations is self-governing, self-running, but that's only part of the story. The piece of connection and interconnectedness also really matters. There's a foundational document about this very thing. It was written in 1648 by a bunch of people who were here in what would become the United States, and they were trying to figure out how to run their churches. They couldn't just call back to England every time they needed an answer. It took months to do that at that time, of course. Instead, they wrote their own guide for how they were going to do things. And as I said, they called it the Cambridge Platform. An important part of it was how churches would be in relationship to one another. This is a summary of part of it. Though distinct and without authority over one another, the platform affirms that congregational churches should maintain communion with each other. There are 6 ways of showing the communion of churches they identify. Number 1 is taking thought for each other's welfare. Number 2, consulting on any topic or cause where another church has more familiarity or information about the topic. Number 3, admonishing another church, even to the point of convening a synod of neighboring churches and ceasing communion with the offending church. Number 4, allowing members of one church to fully participate and receive the Lord's Supper in another church. 5, sending letters of recommendation when a member goes to a new church due to a seasonal or permanent relocation. And number 6, financial support for poor churches. Or as I like to put it concisely, we care, we consult, we admonish when necessary. We welcome, we recommend, and we support. Our congregations have experienced all 6 of these forms of connection at one time or another. Many times it's through the institution of the Unitarian Universalist Association that we experience that connection. But in my own time in Unitarian Universalism, I've personally seen examples of all of these. The church in Napa I worked for received money and care and support after wildfires devastated that area. Both Reverend Vicki and I have personally recommended a congregation to members who were moving to a new area where we knew someone. We have all welcomed in visitors and new members from other UU congregations, either for a short time or for a long time. And I've seen congregations be admonished for their bad behavior, though I'll say we don't use the term admonish very much anymore. I've personally been a consultant to many churches, and through UUA and other programs, we've been peer consultants to one another frequently. The bottom line to all of this is that we are better and stronger together. And that's why I'm so excited about this technological opportunity to join our 2 congregations in worship today, and I hope we'll do so again soon and learn from what we do well and what maybe doesn't go so great here today. But as I said earlier, we often do many of these forms of connection through the structure of the UUA. For instance, we train ministers and other religious professionals. We develop curricula and other resources. We coordinate things like ministerial search. We run a retirement system for our employees. We do large-scale social justice efforts. We train lay leaders. We do so many more things too. Here in Bryan and College Station and Huntsville and all the smaller communities from which we join nearby, it can feel lonely sometimes. We're a long way from most other UU congregations, and we're in areas where being a religious liberal is not that common. But we're never alone. We have friends in other religious communities in our area. Just a couple weeks ago, I spoke to the minister of a local UCC church, for instance. And more broadly, we're always connected to and supported by the more than 1,000 congregations of the Unitarian Universalist Association, representing some 200,000 children and adults. We're never alone. Even in this era where we're spending much of our time shut in our homes, worried about going out into the world where the coronavirus is raging at levels we have not previously seen, we are never alone. And in today's world, technology has made it easier than ever to remember this fact. I see the many faces on Zoom here, the people I've called and spoken to in recent weeks. I see a lot of friends from this congregation and from so many other parts of my life on Facebook regularly, just to give a few examples. I struggle to imagine what my life would be like without these connections, without the support of so many people in my life, even if I can't see almost any of them in person right now. In my work life as a minister, I'm always aware that we're better together. No work I do by myself is as good as the work that comes from collaborating with others, with musicians and lay leaders, or in today's case, another minister too. We bounce ideas off one another. We provide editing for one another. Someone is there to bring up the ideas that you might never have thought of yourself, but work perfectly with the things you already had. It's easy to fall into the trap of doing everything yourself. I've been there. It's easy to try to be responsible for everything, to be on top of everything, to know that you're doing it, but it's a trap. Real teamwork, real shared ministry is always the better, more fruitful choice. Because we are so much better together, friends. Let's keep finding ways to work together, to be together, safe and virtually right now. We have such promising challenges and opportunities ahead of us, and together we will tackle all of them.
Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union, what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn a mill, singly none, singly none. Step by step, the longest march can be won, can be won. Many stones can form an arch, singly none, singly none. And by union, what we will can be accomplished still. Drops of water turn a mill, singly none, singly none.
Please join me in extinguishing the chalice. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we gather together again. Thank you.
Our benediction is from D. Scott Cooper. My beloved friends, this is our calling. The world aches for us to join together and bring about healing, toil for justice, and produce ever-increasing love. This is our calling. Go forth and act accordingly. May it be so.
Shalom Havarim, Shalom Havarim, Shalom, Shalom. להתראות, להתראות, שלום, שלום. Goodbye, my friends, be safe, my friends, have peace, till we meet again, till we meet again, have peace, have peace. Shalom havarim, shalom havarim, shalom, shalom. להתראות, להתראות, shalom, shalom.
We thank the members of both Thoreau Woods UU Church and UU Church of the Brazos Valley for joining together today in Sunday worship service. At this time, we invite you to again join together in our coffee hour and discussion.